Hey, are you ready to grow your business? You have checked out the number one resource for business leaders, entrepreneurs, startup founders, and managers. And we're going to teach you how to grow and scale your business with real actionable steps. There's no fluff in this podcast. It's just good advice. Check out this episode. If you're a first-time listener, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. And if you enjoy this episode, leave us a 5-star review. On today's episode, we have Anne Barnett, who's the owner of Level After Next. You can find out more at levelafternext.org. She also runs a podcast, has an incredibly active Instagram community, and more importantly, she's trying to help you level up, especially as you're thinking about, man, what's next for me? What am I working on next? Maybe you're in a job where you're no longer fulfilled or passionate about it, and you're looking to be inspired. You're looking for that answer for how do I go to the next level. Katie's bringing it to you on today's episode. Now, I'll tell you, I used the wrong microphone for this podcast, like a big dope. So regardless of that, check out this episode, enjoy this episode, and enjoy hearing some good advice from my friend Katie. Stay tuned. Here comes your good advice.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Good Advice Podcast. One of the things that are special about this podcast is, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're thinking about your business. You're thinking about maybe the business you're running now, or maybe even the business that you one day hope to start and begin. And as you're thinking about these things, you're probably thinking, man, I wish I could just listen to someone who could help me get into the right headspace, the right mindset. I wish I could talk to someone who could really help me have the right expectations and be optimistic for really what the future holds for me. And more importantly, to let me know that it's okay if I don't figure it out right away, that it's okay to pivot. It's okay to change. It's okay to make big decisions, even if it's drastically different from what you've been doing previously. On today's episode, we're sitting down with Anne Barnett. You can find out more on her Instagram. It's at KTANNE Barnett, and that'll be down in the episode description below. She's been featured in Disruptors Magazine's top 20 Women Disruptors of 2021. I got that title out there. And also, you can check out her website, levelafternext.org. She might be your favorite person that you've listened to on the show thus far. No pressure. Katie, it's so great to have you on the show today.
I'm so excited. I feel a little pressure now, but I'm here for it.
I just try to amp everyone up, and then hopefully it pans out. So hasn't failed me yet. So
all right.
I'm excited to have you on the show today. Where are you calling in from?
I'm in Southern California right now. I am in a little town called Newbury Park. It's in between. I always describe it like coastline-ish between Santa Barbara and Malibu. So you can find me there. It's pretty idyllic. It's like Whoville around here.
Okay, nice. Yeah, the only place I've really been to, I know LA, the only other place I've really been to in California is San Luis Obispo.
Oh, that's where I went to college. Oh, it's so good.
Where we honeymoon, my wife and I. And so we love that place. And funny story, we went there, we'd gotten a bunch of wedding gifts, cash. And we were yeah, we're going to save this. And it's going to be starter money for our marriage. We spent all of it. We were just let's just keep spending it.
Oh, yeah.
We had a great experience. So
that was where my husband and I met in school. And there's a bar there called the Library. And it wasn't until his mom at his graduation put together that he was saying he was going to the library all the time. And he very well. And I was like, wait a second. Cause I was not 21 yet. And I'm like, how many times did that happen to me?
Yeah. See, this is a great lesson in good marketing. It's how do you name your business? But Katie Anne, it's great to have you on the show. I've given kind of my spiel about who you are, what you do. Or at least I've welcomed the audience in terms of what we're going to talk about today. I'd love to invite you to share a little bit, give us the scoop on who you are, what you do. And, your Instagram page, by the way, is popping off. You got so much great content happening over here. But I'd love to hear.
It was almost gone forever. So,
and you mentioned that before we hit record. So I want to talk about that today. But who are you? What do you do? What are you passionate about? And we'll get into it.
If you'd asked me that a couple of years ago, I probably would have said I just got lucky. I fell into leadership in a company and, right time, right place, all of that. Now looking back, getting to lead more intentionally, get to lead leaders, get to work with incredible mentors and leaders. I realized just how intentional I really have been through it all. And, in growing my business and, how to show up as a leader and learning more and more. So I've been a top leader in 2 companies now, and I have built a business, 2 large businesses with both companies. And now, as you mentioned, I have Level After Next, where I get to work with people individually and help them to not just like brand themselves, but figure out how they're going to show up. And honestly, that sounds it's really silly, because what it ends up being is just a beautiful conversation where I get to remind people that the stories of their life matter and are going to reach people. Everybody's got a story. And I think that when it comes down to what I get to do individually with people and as a leader and with my team members is just see them. And I think it's pretty prevalent how rarely people feel seen anymore. And it's funny, because what my growth has come from is just showing people who I really am and talking about some of the hard stuff and some of the things people don't typically talk about. And it's not always easy, but it always yields a beautiful effect. And that's, on my social media, but then also like within my team and in my business and otherwise. So I don't know. Did I answer that question?
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I mean, I think about the times that, you bump into someone at a coffee shop that like you kind of generally know them. And it feels like we're all really good at like, just the checklist of like, oh, how are you? How's the family? Okay. Yeah. But then there's those moments where you have that really genuine connection and that genuine conversation, or like you ask someone like, how are you doing today? And they're like, everything sucks right now. Like everything's really, today sucks. And you just have like this moment of connection. It feels like those are so rare, but so powerful when you make that happen.
Okay. So I have a funny story about that. We were at a trampoline park just a few days. Well, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now with their kids. And there's like a bunch of couches where the adults can sit. My husband and I were on one couch and there was plenty of room. We were like sitting close, and this woman came up and she was like, can I sit down next to you? And I'm like, sure. Yeah. I'm like, by the way, I love your sweater, which people, can I just say, if you have stopped giving random people compliments, it like is the most fun thing in the whole wide world to do.
I feel like women are so nice to each other, by the way. Like my wife, like I see this happen and I'm like, this is like, it's like, I can't even describe it. I see those moments happen and I'm like, you guys are awesome. Like, it's just so like this genuine kind. I feel like for me, when I see another guy, I'm like, hey dude, I like your beard, and he's like, thanks man. You too. I mean, that's about as far as we go.
I feel like it's a kind of a shift in society, and maybe not everybody has embraced it quite yet, but, like as women and everybody, like we need each other, as moms, as parents, as anything. I mean, it's for anybody, but like we really need each other. So the second that you show somebody, hey, I'm going to show up for you in this moment, even though we don't know each other at all, it kind of opens this door. And so, yeah, I started talking with this woman, and it was like we went straight into our kids in therapy and how difficult kids are. No basic information whatsoever. Yeah. Like she's worried about one of her kids. I'm telling her about, my different kids and, like I said, therapy for kids and different like forms of things. And she was a therapist, but knew nothing about like how to help her child. And it was just, it was so interesting. And the first thing that really stood out to me, I left that conversation going, oh my gosh, we did not mention COVID one time. Like maybe it's going to be okay. But the second thing was just like, that was just such a beautiful connection. And yeah, I like totally agree. I think that what's important though, is that you have to be willing to show up for those moments, and we both were there for it. And it was amazing, And I think that's a mindset in and of its own.
Mm-hmm. Is it more about like presence? Like I'm not on my phone and I'm like realizing opportunity around me, or is it more of like vulnerability? Which, we live in a social media culture, we're often showing our best side of ourselves. A lot of times someone asks, how are you? And we feel this like, need to have like the veneer of like, things are great. Or like I've talked to business owners, for example, who they're like, oh, business is great. It's amazing. And then I talk to them later and they're like, yeah, I haven't made a sale in like 18 months, and I'm like, well, why did you say things were great? Right. And so, yeah, I mean, like, are both of those things in play when you're trying to have those real conversations, or what have you seen in your experience?
I think everybody is searching for connection. I think that it's hard for some people to admit. I think that some people label themselves introverts, or, we put labels on ourselves that then, again, your subconscious doesn't know any difference, right? What you say to yourself, what you think. And so if you're like, I'm an introvert, you're going to act as if you're an introvert. And so it's consciously being willing to show up for that. And then just recognizing that connection is soul filling. And I think women who like moms, I hate saying just moms because this is really for anybody, but I think that I first recognized it in myself when I was a young mom, husband gone a lot. And I just was so alone, and I would take a baby who was too young to play at to the park just to like see if somebody would talk to me,
Yeah.
and then you find like it takes a while. Sometimes you and another mom sit there at the park and you don't talk at all, but you're both just wanting to. But then I got to the point where I was like, hey, can I get your number? Like, can we talk? Do you need some diaper wipes? And there's a point in motherhood where we just say, screw it. Like, we just need the friends, and then it became kind of a thing where we all started talking about it on social media. But then with the pandemic, I think we all realized maybe in it, we were like, yeah, I get to drink beer at 11 o'clock on Tuesday and for like a while, but it's kind of like when it rains for, 10 weeks straight. And then the sun comes out and you're like, oh my gosh, I did not realize how much I needed the sun. I did not realize what this would do. So, and then when it comes to business, recognizing the need for other people's connection in sales, especially, is everything. I mean, you treat people as humans and not just a number or something you're going to get paid on. And, you authentically and confidently love your products. Like, you cannot lose there, but if somebody's not making sales for 18 months, they're just not getting up and doing the work.
You seem like someone who's very reflective and introspective.
Maybe too much.
You think so?
No, I don't know. I think it
doesn't throw me. I think it's rare. I think it's rare that, there's actually even like data out there. Harvard Business Review did basically a study on just cutting through making this so simple. What % of people are actually self-aware versus the ones who say they are? Which I think we've all had the boss who's been like, yeah, I'm really self-aware. And you're just like, oh, you're such a bad boss. But the number is only 10% of people are actually truly like introspective, in the know of like able to objectively see themselves for who they really are. And you seem like one of those people, as I'm listening to you talk about, just those connections and those conversations. And I can see that being really valuable for the kind of work you're doing, where, you're sitting down with another aspiring entrepreneur who's thinking, they have all these like puzzle pieces. Like, I think about like the really big jigsaw puzzle pieces, and you're like, I have these data points from my life. Now, how does it all fit together for ultimately what I'm trying to sell or do for my business? So I can see the value in what you do.
Thank you. That is like maybe one of the greatest compliments I've ever received. I think like in many things, like in leadership but like with self-awareness, it's not really like the top of a mountain you get to, it's something that you're committed to.
Right.
Like, I want to be self-aware. John Maxwell has like the DISC assessment, and I was doing a training on it recently, and it was talking about like, what like these 4 areas of communication, and like what you see, but what you know about yourself and others don't know, what others see and you don't know about yourself, and it was really like eye-opening to me that it was like, that makes sense. Like there are things about me that, and it's the things that when they get pointed out to you about like your character, who you are, like how you act, and you're like, oh my gosh, I do that, you don't even know. And so, I
think of it as like, the you versus someone else. Like you describe yourself as like, yeah, I'm a go-getter. And then someone else is like, yeah, they're really abrasive. Like, it's kind of like that's the difference for our listeners of what we're like, that of getting those sort of spheres together and like understanding how you're really seen and I don't think it's really about like, people pleasing or like trying to make everyone like you. I think of it as like, just living life in a productive way. Like if I want healthy relationships, healthy friendships, to not be a douchebag, I just think about like, how am I coming across to people? But exactly. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just was listening.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly what it is. It's like, if I'm not willing to like learn more about myself, learn my weaknesses, my strengths, figure that out, then I can't like help others as well, and, or see them as well. We can't communicate as well. And with that all comes, we have like those pieces of advice that just like stick in our head, and, one of my mentors said, no, I'm not going to be able to quote him correctly. It's pretty simple. He was like, you want to be slow to offend, easy to forgive, and that has, I think it just ties into all of that. And like I said, it's a simple concept, but when, I have people now who will come to me and be like, I'm sorry if what I said seemed blah, blah. And I'm like, I didn't take it that way at all. Like take no offense to it. And I saw like the good in it, so let's figure out what we can do. I hope that I am becoming more and more self-aware. I love getting to learn more and understand myself more. I mean, I talk a lot about mental health on Instagram, blog about it. I do a lot of like blogs that then I'm like scared to post. So those will be coming soon.
So you're like everyone else then.
Right. I'm like, yeah, I'm blogging, but like, there's not like a blog. There is, but it'll be attached to my website.
It's funny because sometimes it's hard to be consistent because I've just learned that the internet can be so mean with like, you don't always get like the simple. And this is frankly for everyone listening, it's why you have to, 1, have a deeply rooted belief in yourself and the value you offer. And 2, why, and Katie Ann, this is why I love what you're saying. It's why it's so vital to have community, because those moments you feel low, having your close friends to be like, no, you're a freaking badass. Like you're awesome. Like what you're doing is great. Because I've had people, like my business is called Good Advice. I've had people be like, you give bad advice, but I'm like, okay, I see what you did there. And it hurts.
I guess I set you up for that, right?
Yeah. But sometimes you post stuff and people are just mean, and they aren't just like, I disagree. It's like, you should, jump off a bridge. You're like, oh my gosh, like, why are you so offended by this? I just said, pay your people more money. That's all I said. But anyway, so I don't even know where I'm going with that other than just ranting about the internet.
Well, it's true. It's true. And and again, there are the fact that this is a real thing, there are people who truly do nothing more than set out to just be mean on social media. I can't even fathom what, like, not even like for one comment, like if you want to be cruel in just one like, I can't imagine what has to be going on, honestly, like within them to, instead of just like scrolling past it or moving on from it or coming up with something somewhat constructive, they just say something to hurt and be mean. I can't wrap my head around that concept. I cannot.
And part of me, do you feel like we live in a culture like where it's like people feel the need to have a comment on things that like they have no, like, here's a great example, the Will Smith and Chris Rock thing. I didn't post anything about it because I don't know anything about either of them. I like both their movies.
Right.
That's about the extent of it. I don't know anything about their lives. I don't know anything about Will Smith's marriage. Well, I was scrolling through Facebook, who uses Facebook anymore? But I'm scrolling through Facebook and
me, I do.
Thank you. I found, there's two of us now. So I was scrolling through Facebook and I have so many connections on Facebook, as many of us in the entrepreneurial world do. We're just connected to so many people.
Yeah.
And someone posted like a screenshot from that night. And it was like an essay on evaluating Will Smith's marriage. And here's what was crazy. The person said, I really believe Will should probably just kill himself. Like, that's what this person wrote on the internet for everyone to see. And I read this and thought, I am disturbed by someone who has never met the person in question is such an armchair expert to go to that length of commentary and insanity. And, I guess the life lesson here for all of us who are, many entrepreneurs are thinking about, how do I get more consistent on social media? How do I show up on social media? And I guess you got to just have thick skin. I know there's crazy people out there.
It's like, I always tell my team, and I'm reminded this regularly, like, you have to set your temperature. Like, you're not a thermometer, you're a thermostat, right? Yeah. So my like one of my mentors again is like, look, you can go up and down with all the things, with one comment, there's 84,000 seconds in a day. If you had $84,600 and somebody stole 10, would you throw the rest away? Like, you can't let that kind of negativity take away from everything. And so if you're on that roller coaster and you're able, you're going up and down, and look, like, it's okay to get bummed about something, but you can't let it screw up your momentum. You can't let it take you down for too long. It means nothing, and especially when it comes to these people who are willing to take their time out just to like be cruel. I mean, so sorry, funny story while we're talking about mean comments and whatnot. I'm like still reels. I'm just going to be completely honest here, right? Yeah. Like, you're not going to learn how to grow your Instagram through reels from me, but I'm going to try. I'm just trying. I'm just doing my best here. And so
That's so many of us, by the way. Just doing my best. Just trying to keep it together. Sorry. Go ahead.
Like, every day it's like something new and it all contradicts each other. And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just going to keep going. And so I did this random reel that I was like gonna delete because it was just a nose filter. So I'm half Italian. My dad is full Italian, Italian language in his home. And so I have his nose, and Italians can have big noses. And so I did this filter and it made my nose really small. And he was just right next to me. It was just one of those funny things where you're like, look, you have a mustache. And I put it on him and I'm like, it didn't change his nose. So it's just this funny back and forth between my dad and I, and he's hilarious and amazing. And the internet, like, there's 4 million views on it, and it is nothing. Like, it's not even like well done or edited in any way, shape, or form. Right. But it took off, and the comments on it, right, for the most part, people are like, they think my dad looks like some Pixar character. But for the most
I'm looking at it now. Sorry, go ahead now.
So most of the comments were really great, but then people started telling me that we weren't Italian and like getting mad and like, and I'm like, what, like, what is even happening? What is this even about? Why?
I'm like, go outside. It's just crazy.
It was the strangest thing ever. And it was hard because there was, one, like, I was insulted. 2, don't talk about my dad. 3, like, I'm not Italian. Like, I don't get to own my hair. Is that a thing now that we get to like say to each other? I'm not really sure. It was just so confusing, but it was also like, I could have chosen to get in fights with everybody and, whatnot. Or it was like, okay, these people are ridiculous and move forward,
So let's drill into the takeaway from this, because, I really believe that there's a couple of topics that are so stressful for the new entrepreneur. And one of them, I think, is sales. The other one is this sense of, okay, I know I need to be on social media. I know I need to have my voice on social media, but I don't know how to find my voice. I don't know what I really stand for, so to speak. And I'm frankly fearful or scared of what other people are going to say to me. How does a person build their brand and get to that point of, yeah, I'm posting regularly. I'm posting, like, I'm finding what my message is. I mean, what does that look like in your experience?
Yeah, I always tell anybody who will listen, sometimes, I don't know if that's a lot or a little, but I always say blinders on, like blinders on, and I'm not comparing myself or anybody to like a celebrity, but like those who are the most composed are like, I don't read the articles about me. I'm not paying attention to that. I'm just doing what's important and sticking to it, and so, I've had people bring up like engagement on something or how many people are watching my stories. And I'm like, why are you paying attention to that when I'm not even paying attention to that? I'm just doing it, and of course you shouldn't just like post something and then not engage with the people who are engaging with you. But, the faster you can just say, look, this is what I'm going to do. And, the next part of that is finding your authentic self, which is going to change. But sometimes that can be just something as simple as stating the fear. I love this product. I'm so afraid that people are going to, judge me for doing this, or that the last thing I want to do is come off salesy. Or if you're doing like don't say salesy because that's salesy in itself, but like, if you're doing a live or a video of any kind and you're scared, you just say like, I'm so nervous right now, but like, I'm going to get better at this, and people, you don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to start. And then you have to commit to continuing, because that's the problem that people really get into. One little setback and they're done, like they realize that they're going to have to put a little more energy in than they had originally hoped to, or then it's like they probably did hope to, and then they just stopped feeling like it. And I mean, that's what happens with people in sales all the time. They sign up for something or they decide to do something. It seems really great. They're determined that they're going to be awesome at it. And then it doesn't happen in the first 4 days. And they're like, whatever, that doesn't work. Yeah.
I mean, it's people who, they're going to start an Instagram page, or in my world, I'm going to start a podcast. And then, 2 weeks go by and they go, well, it didn't work. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you took one step basically, but it's tough to stick to this kind of stuff. Because it can be draining.
I had a really great session with my business coach yesterday. I know we haven't, I don't even know if we're going to get time to talk about it or whether it's worth talking about, but my Instagram was completely shut down, and it was like, full 7 levels of grief going through my head for so many different reasons. But we were kind of talking about what to do. And we went back to one of our very first meetings. Right. And he's like, it's all about state, like your physical, emotional state, mental state, and then your story. Like, what is your story? What's your why? Where are you going? What do you want your life to look like in 5 years? And then your strategy. But if you don't have like your physical state together in the first place, like you can't move on to the story. You can't move on to the strategy. And so it was funny. I was like, okay, we're going to Tarantino this. We're going backwards. You're right though. Like I have to get into the right emotional state and the right physical state, the right, mental state. And then remember what I'm here for and what I'm going to do and what my plans are, and then go back to the strategy. And now I may have to create a completely new strategy, but that's okay. And so what it all starts with is getting yourself, like I said, into that peak state. And sometimes that's like having your coffee alone in the morning before the kids wake up. And that can seem like too much, like who wants to wake up any earlier than they have to? But you find that peak physical and emotional state, you start to, like it's your job, remember, like, what are the things that I need to get me to this place, whether it's meditation, whether it's reading, some great book, quotes, a podcast, the Bible, whatever it is for you, waking up at a certain time. I have to wake up at 5:45 in the morning to feel like I have control of my day.
Yeah.
I used to sleep in as late as I possibly could. I hated mornings. It's never been my thing. That's my peak state in the morning. And that can seem like a lot, but it's really, it's important for you to then be able to set your goals, to believe in the story that you want to create for yourself, to allow yourself the opportunity to like dream bigger. And it's really just all about creating small little habits, that are going to help get you there.
Well, and, we're back to thinking about, even recognizing like what state that you're in, like, again, that point of self-awareness. And, again, I can see how these conversations play out with the customers that you work with. And I even start to think about a comment you made earlier about, you thought you were just kind of fell into success, or that, you just happened to be in good situations when it came to like managing people or what have you. And then through this process of self-awareness, a couple of years later, looking back and being like, no, actually, I think I'm a good boss. Like, I think I'm actually pretty good at this. I really get this. It does feel like it's hard for us sometimes to recognize those skill sets, recognize those talents, because they're so normal to us. They come so naturally to us. Talk to me a little bit more about that journey and realizing just like, wow, like I have a skill set that is freaking awesome. It's unique, and it's really helpful for the people that I'm working with.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm never going to tell somebody that you need to start small. I believe that you can believe really big. I just hadn't given myself permission to do that yet. And that's kind of what my goal in life is to help people give themselves permission to dream bigger. But for me, it started in a business that I never saw myself going into. I thought it was ridiculous and silly, all network marketing. I was like, my best friend was who I like signed under originally, and she had been trying to get me to do it for years. And she said, I'm going to retire my husband. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so cute. That's so sad that you think that. But it's crazy. It is a beautiful opportunity for if it's right for you. And so for me, it just started with a product that I really loved. And then being willing to just say, okay, whatever, I've got a master's degree. People I had an art business at the time that was, whatever. It was just local and it was great, but it was really hard. But they also just trusted and believed me as a human. And so I'm like, I'm just going to show up for this, and people can think whatever they want, but these products are great, and I'm going to just let people know, and I'm not going to be ashamed of it.
Right.
And I think like the first month, maybe I made like $300, and we were floored. Like we were like, what? I was so afraid. My husband didn't want me to do it. My parents were like, this is stupid. But we'll buy the products because they are pretty cool. And I was like, dude, what if I could do this every month? Yeah. And my husband was like, if you could just make $200 every month, that would be, this is where we started.
And I was like, inspiration. This is so like small, but like so cute. And I don't mean that in a condescending way.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like, when you're bootstrapping, you're starting out, it's like every bill counts. And it's like, yeah, if I could just cover I remember thinking like, if I could just cover my groceries, this would be great. But anyway, keep going. I didn't mean to.
No, that's exactly it. And so it was like, every time I was like, what if I could make this much a month? And my husband was like, he would always like take it down by a couple $100, like what if we could just do this? And then it was like, all I wanted to do was cover our gas and electric, because that would help us. We live in a place where it's really hot and really cold. And so that's where it started. And I was determined to earn just that small amount of money. But with that determination came growth and more growth and more growth. And so my output, because I was just so determined on that small scale, my output outdid my goals at the time. And, that is all on you. I just knew that I wanted to continue helping my family in this way. And then it kept growing and growing. And next thing I knew, I was earning enough to pay our mortgage. And then it was, and then it just went crazy. And as I was doing that, I was learning these skills. I was watching people and saying, I want to do it just like that, or I don't want to do it anything like that. And all along the way, at the core of it all was just staying true to myself and letting people love me or hate me, and connecting to people. And, and then I'm not going to say that I wasn't perfect. I've learned so much just in the last year alone, but I will say that like, I was never going to quit. Like once I started, I wasn't going to stop. And then once I gave myself that permission to like dream big and have that 5-year plan change a lot, you're unstoppable. It doesn't matter if your goal is $100 a month, like awesome, start there, do it, make it happen, let it grow. And then when it's time, you need to let yourself dream bigger, because there's no point in life where you're like, yep, you just got to accept it. Yep. I'm just, this is it. And I used to tell my husband, I was like, it's just like our part of life is kind of over. Like we've had the last baby shower, we've done all the things. Now we get to watch them grow. And it wasn't a bad thing. Like I was like, this is beautiful and exciting, but I wasn't giving myself enough. I wasn't giving us enough credit. I was just going to let it not be like life, not be about me doing anything anymore. And I think that I would have done my kids such a disservice to not let them watch what I was able to do at a point in life where I could have just not,
Right, yeah.
And they're a part of it all. There's a reason for it all. So I'm going to cry.
Oh. Everything, it's a different conversation when you have kids, and I love how you framed it, because I've known, and this is just for better or worse, guys, this isn't intended in any way, but I've known people for better or worse who said, you know what, I have kids, and so I'm going to play it safe just to make sure that their future is secure. And then I've known people who've been like, man, like the things, the ambition, the drive, the things that I want them to believe about themselves, like I have to demonstrate that. And that's what you're doing ultimately is, you want them to see all the things that you're doing and know that they can do it as well. And these are the things that are a little bit intangible about entrepreneurship. I think when you look at social media, you get it's all about followers or clicks or sales. And these things are important. Don't get me wrong, guys. These things are important for like the growth of your business. But there's definitely a bit of a nuance and a weightiness, I think, to it all that I think you've talked about well today. So, well, for people who we're already at the end of our conversation. For people who are listening to,
I'm not done. Come on, we've got a few more hours.
Well, so here's actually what I'm thinking about is like this totally beautiful, amazing journey you've been on. Like and I mentioned this earlier already. Like it's so easy to see. Okay, this is, you're still in progress like many of us are, but like, here's like the beautiful steps you've taken and self-awareness and like understanding your power and what you bring to the table. And I can see how for people listening, how you can help someone else recognize the power of their story and, wherever they are in their life. For someone who's listening, who's thinking like, wow, like I think I need to have like another conversation with this person. Like this is a moment where, we're at the park and I just sat down on a bench and I just heard Katie Ann share some things that I resonate with. What do people need to do? What's the best way for someone to connect with you and maybe even hire you or work with you?
Yeah. So you can go to my Instagram, Katie Ann Barnett, it's Anne with an E for all the old people like me who remember Anne of Green Gables. Katie Ann Barnett on almost every channel, and then levelafternext.org and levelafternextorg.com. Either one, you'll be able to find me, and it's all linked in my bio on Instagram as well. And I cannot wait to talk to you. You can find me on Facebook too, if you're one of those who still have that. I'm probably still on MySpace as well.
Yeah.
I had like the cool background and song going and everything.
Your Xanga page for your blog. Yeah.
Let's bring it back.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So,
Well, cool.
I'm excited. I would love to connect with any of you. And thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah. And Katie Ann, I thank you for coming on the show today and being so open and genuine. I think it's so encouraging. The entrepreneurial we're in, there's not always genuine conversations. And so I really appreciate it. And I know our listeners really appreciate it as well. So thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Hey, for our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode today, what the heck are you waiting on? Click the subscribe button, click the follow button so you can keep getting good advice wherever you are in your life and in your business. Also, if you want to find out more about Katie Anne Barnett, I'm going to have her Instagram and her website. It's going to be down in the episode description below. And don't forget, if you want to support the podcast, you can go to our Patreon. It's at patreon.com/goodadvice. And of course, we so appreciate those of you who contribute to the podcast on a monthly basis. So thank you. Hey, that's today's good advice. We'll catch you later. See ya.